when you said that. Whoops. Oh well. All right, we're live. Cool. Let me do the transition. Hello. This
Hello.
is going to be Spyro 3 any percent. My name is Faulty. I got Dact and jeremythompson on commentary with me. Should be pretty fun. I'm going to miss a lot of stuff, so if you're doing the drinking game, please stop right now.
Please stop.
Survive until the end of the run. But yeah, I guess that's pretty much it. And we'll go ahead and get started. So we'll go ahead and start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good luck.
Thank you. So there's a lot of tricks in this run. It's going to start off pretty quickly with some proxies, which you probably heard a little bit about in Spyro 1. They are a little more different, and there's more of them in 3. But if one of you wants to explain more about like Sunny Villa, that'd be great.
Sure. So basically, the category of proxy in Sunny Villa is called a dead body proxy. And there are some objects that you can charge through, but you can't glide into or glide through. And so if you charge into them and then press X during your charge jump, you get a 1-frame glide followed by continued charge. And so during that 1-frame glide, the game recognizes that you're inside of an object and it pushes you out of it. And because you charge on the next frame, you maintain all of the velocity from the push as a vector. So if you time it very well, then you get a lot of height. And height is very advantageous in this game because the developers, nice.
Yeah,
The developers made the levels pretty circular, so the end is very close to the beginning. And so if you have enough height, you can just finish basically in like 5 seconds per level.
Yeah, that's a really common theme in this game, where they put the end of the level very near the start, but just like slightly out of reach. And so there's a lot of times where you can.
Pretty good example of it here.
Yeah.
A really long.
You can do Cloud Spire's next, yeah.
Yeah, it's a really long detour to do a giant circle, but the end of level is basically right at the start. So we're gonna skip a lot of that using a spin jump or a spin hover.
Yeah, momentum jump. Yeah, a momentum jump followed by a spin hover, I guess.
Yeah.
So this is a really strange jump. It's one of the only times in the game where you want to not charge jump, but you want to do like a normal jump. If you charge into a normal jump and hold forward, you'll keep some of the momentum from your charging into your full jump. But you do a full jump because you want all the height from a full jump, so allows you to get just up onto that ledge.
Yeah, that was a little scary for me. I thought I jumped way too far to the left, but it worked out pretty well.
It basically moves the apex of your jump forward and then still allows you to have the good effects from gliding out of, because there's a mechanic with gliding where if you charge jump and try to glide immediately, it's not a good, if you charge jump and try to hover immediately after you start gliding, it's not a good hover. And so by doing the standard jump, you move your apex over and still give yourself a good hover.
Yeah.
So
and that was a swim in air.
Yeah, that was a swim in air. Well, the first part of that was going into the cave and doing what's essentially a double jump from Spyro to like the same kind of inputs. When you have the Superfly power up, you sort of flap, and then the game takes away your ability to glide, and so you can charge out of it and get a lot of upward momentum. It's almost physically acting like a proxy with completely different reasons, but it gives you enough height to get over that wall and out of bounds. And then if you can the water plane. If you go downward through the water plane, but you're not actually in bounds, the game just says, "Oh, you're swimming now," but it doesn't have you in a bounding box, and so you're just out of bounds and you're swimming at the same time, and you're free to move around.
Yeah, it's pretty inaccurate to consider, or completely inaccurate to consider water in this game as some physical entity. It's just a swim trigger, and then a container to keep you in that, and the containers aren't made very well in a lot of cases. And in this case, I mean, since it's a plane of water, the trigger still exists underneath it, out of bounds, as Faulty said, but there's no container at all, and so if you just trigger swim, then you're free. Also worth mentioning is the fact that normally it would take you 14 eggs in a conversation with the NPC to open Seashell Shore. The level is locked, but all locked levels are stored predictably underneath where they would be if they were unlocked, and the portals are still active. So just by going out of bounds and touching them, you can get into the level early.
Yeah.
And then this jump is hard. He's trying to jump and then get like a very small wall glide off the side of the Mushroom Speedway structure, I guess. To hop. Oh, that was really close. That
It was a really good setup,
seemed
but
just like a bad hover, yeah.
yeah.
But the idea there would be to get on top of the Molten Crater portal, and then from there you can jump out of bounds and get into Molten Crater the same way you got into Seashell. But the backup to
Still
that
gonna
is
do
to
that.
just go back and do the same swim in, well, not swim in air actually, just the
High
Superfly
bounce to
jump
yeah.
onto the
There we go.
onto the side of the.
I fell off a
level.
little bit early, but it worked out.
Mm. So a different type of proxy in this level. So we went over dead body proxies. These ones are animation proxies. And at a very basic level, you can just consider it very similar to like throwing a baseball or any sort of ball if you're not American, where you throw it and
Cricketball.
eventually you release it, and the ball continues past that. So in the same way, you can think of it as the boar's animation throwing you and releasing you, and then you get a bunch of height from it. A more technical explanation would be to say that you occupy the space above where the animation is, and the animation is going to move to occupy it. And on the frame where it moves, you press square during a glide or a flop, and then you maintain the velocity in the same way that you do dead body proxies.
Yep. There's a
Yeah.
something that can happen when you get a really good proxy as a proxy bonk, which is where you move so fast that you end up hitting your own hitbox. And that one in particular, I seem to get it the most on. But
It's
there's some ways
understandable to
avoid
get it on board because you get such high proxies. It's...
Yeah, there's ways to avoid it by like not doing any directional inputs, but it's sort of just coincidental, really. It's not super common though, which is nice.
Yeah. And then entering into Sheila's Alp, you use the same Superfly jump into a swim in air as you did for Seashell.
Yeah, this homeworld's really
and-
consistent like that, which is awesome.
Yeah, especially if you don't do the fast Molten Crater entry, you can do those 3 levels in any order, really.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you have to do Sheila last, but other than that.
So Sheila is pretty boring. You'll see a couple movement techniques like kicking at the top of a high jump. But it is relevant. You'll hear us throw around the term RNG, especially a lot toward the end game. And to explain that, this level also has some RNG. You can't really lose more than about 5 seconds to it here, but it's pretty substantial in the late game. RNG means random number generator, and basically we attach the term to any event that has randomness associated with it. So in this, especially this last room as Faulty's in right now, the count of the enemies and the movement of the enemies and the positioning of the enemies is all random, and so he has to just adapt to it. So yeah.
Yeah, we use RNG just as a synonym for luck in most cases.
Pretty much.
It's basically the same thing.
I didn't handle that very well either. I could have gotten one of them after.
I guess now's probably a good time to explain the category. Like, any percent basically just involves getting the end level egg in each of the main levels in the first 3 homeworlds. We have a skip into the final boss. You'd normally need 100 eggs to get in there, and you'll be seeing a run that does that later in the marathon. But
from Dak himself.
because I wasn't gonna say, but but yeah, because we can skip into that, we don't need to collect all the eggs, and so all we need to do is unlock each boss, and you do that by reaching the end of each of the levels, except for the speedways and the sparks levels.
So this is Buzz. Oh, I messed up the start. Good job. Bosses in this game, pretty much like the other Spyro games, don't really exist in terms of difficulty. It's just kill a guy. It's not really that bad. There's some fast strats, like for Buzz here, we're gonna keep him on the edge of the level so that he ends up rolling into the corner with his main attack, and then he stops and you can hit him back into the lava. Oh, I messed that up. Oh wow, this is bad.
Yeah, Buzz is programmed not to like roll off the edge of the arena, and so if you keep him right at the edge like this, he'll just stop rolling before he reaches you.
Yeah,
and then you
one
look
of the
up.
important things here is that you look over to the right. I think you were just about to say this, but
Yeah.
similar to the other Spyro games, whatever doesn't happen on screen basically just doesn't happen at all. And so you saw when I messed up earlier that Buzz has like a flame ring that comes around him after you get the first hit on him. But if that's not on the screen, it doesn't come up. And so if you do it properly, you keep him off the screen until he's done rolling, and then you can just charge into him without having to worry about that flame, which is just saves a decent amount of time. Now we're coming into Midday Gardens. We talked to Bianca again, and then we're going to go for bridge swim. So if one of you wants to explain that.
Sure. So previously the swim and airs that we've done all are plain swim and airs, where they don't have a container and we charge the side of it. It is very fortunate that actually, even if it's a body of water where we can't charge the side of it and get an easy swim in air, Spyro's swimming animation pulls him a little bit out of the water. And so with very low boundaries, or in this case, if you push forward and kind of edge your way out of bounds and inbounds and out of bounds and inbounds, and then press square at the correct time, then you can just get his animation to pull him out of bounds while he's getting swim. And then once you're out of bounds while you have swim, again, you're fine. You can just swim wherever you want.
Yeah, this is not going super well. I'll give it
Yeah,
one more
there's
try.
like a reasonably consistent setup for this, but it's still like it's not easy.
Hey, there we go.
Nice.
It takes a long time to get good at.
Yeah, the setup that I think most people use is just you get into the under the bridge, sort of on that crease, and then you aim directly at the place where you're going to do the charge over the water. Do 2 full jumps, one right after the other, and then while you're flopping, you just wait to hit charge at the right time.
So all of the
Sergeant
critter.
Bird.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say Sergeant Bird's movement is fun. If you hold both strafe buttons, it locks your direction, and it also makes you fly faster, and so it makes movement faster, and also, in my opinion, easier to control. So
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and all of the critter levels are these escort missions that are just do this and then the guy will follow you, and then do this and the guy will follow you again. But what I really like about this one, the reason why it's my favorite critter level, is that it's actually a very intricate pattern of checkpoints and continue points, and a lot of them aren't required, but some enemies you can just kill and it saves a second or a half second. And so you can actually see, like, Faulty probably killed the enemies in the tunnel at the very beginning. They're like 2. Yeah, and those ones save time. There's another checkpoint that you can get in the weight room, and then there are more after that that we even don't use yet. So it's a pretty intricate level
But the only
to do
enemy you
optimally.
have to go is the last run off there, right?
Yes, yeah.
yeah.
The only necessary checkpoints are door checkpoints and the weight checkpoints and that one Rhinoc.
Yeah. And so the last thing that I did in that level, which is something I think Tuval found not too long ago, which was like teleport anticipation.
Mhm.
Getting into the right place before the game teleports you to the end to get the egg. I messed it up.
Yeah,
there.
it's very strange.
At best, it saves like a quarter second, I think, so it's not super worthwhile,
Yeah,
but it's just something fun to do while waiting for me.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
you'll
I
see it
got
again.
like a
in-
half-second gold when I used it in Enchanted Towers for the first time. So
Hmm.
Well, I went for Gator Proxy there, but I didn't get it, so I'm just gonna go around normally.
Okay. Normally being still not normal.
True.
yeah, there's still a skip in this. Everyone forgets, but
Yeah.
like jumping through the water here it skips a moneybags door.
Yeah. But what you can do at the beginning of that level, you'll see that I charged one of the gators, and then I tried to jump up and get a dead body proxy off of him, and I got pushed forward, which means that I was too low in the hitbox, downward and forward actually.
And no Thelonious glitch, SMH.
No, I know, messed up. I also don't have sparks, so this is fun. Oh, okay.
Yeah, when you went for that skip, like,
Yeah, I thought you were gonna jump in the water and die.
yeah,
I've gotten pretty consistent with making the wall glide on that, so I've
that's good.
but it was a little scary.
Yeah, my problem is I forget that I don't have sparks and just do it like I would normally do it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll get the bug here. I'm not going to go for bug proxy, but we'll just get him anyway. Oh, that was a good setup for it too. Oh well.
Alright, so then if he's not going for bug proxy, we have boulder proxy, which is the last real category of proxy you see. There are a couple unique proxies, like gust proxy if you've seen that. But boulder proxy is a squeeze proxy, and it's probably the most logical one. You get into an area with a lot of pressure, and you get pushed to an area with less pressure. And so the analogy I usually like to use is if you have like wet soap in between your hands and you squeeze it really hard, then eventually the soap is going to kind of careen away from you. And it's very similar, where you just condense Spyro's hitbox and then it gets pushed to whatever area gives the least amount of resistance.
And actually, when I got back in bounds there from the glide, I got what I guess you could consider a fourth kind of proxy, the wall boost.
Yeah.
It was a little one, but it just sort of pushes you a little farther forward. Not really worth wasting time for, but oh wow.
Yeah, there's a few places where you can get wall boosts without losing any time though. It's nice.
This is some interesting movement.
So he needs to get the fireball power up here so that he can open enchanted towers.
And I ended up turning away from what I was trying to hit so that I could get low enough to glide into the position where the portal's going to spawn. And doing that keeps you from having to wait for the portal to open up. You end up, as soon as the portal opens, you can go forward. Wow, that was an interesting proxy. But it saves like a second and a half or so over waiting for the portal to come up and then running into it. Also, I got permaflopped around the tower.
Oh, I hate that.
So I'll try. Oh, okay, no, I'm just gonna do the level up. Once I permaflop once there, I seem to do it like 9 times in a row. Oh.
Yeah, so there's like a lot of different ways of skipping enchanted towers. There's a proxy off the enemy that he went for. There's a jump straight from the bridge to where the head bash chest is. That's not an easy jump. And then there's a series of jumps around the tower, which he got screwed over by.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably more as well that I'm not thinking of.
Yeah, there's another series. Like he can use the series of jumps to branch out and do a different strat that we used to do in 2014.
Oh yeah, where you go on like the arch around the first area.
Yeah, and then there are 2 squeeze proxies in the first area that are faster but very difficult. One animation proxy, actually 2 animation proxies. An animation proxy from the jackhammer Rhinoc at the beginning, and an animation proxy from the flying gecko at the beginning.
Wow, I'm glad I don't go for those.
Yeah, I'm glad I don't either. They're terrible.
And at the end of Enchanted Towers was another one of those teleport anticipations. Just going to
Right.
talk to Jasper while the last rocket hits.
All right, so a good thing to mention.
You go, yeah.
Okay, a good thing to mention is that the developers, when they made levels, they sort of assumed, or they seem to have assumed, that the best way you can jump to get the farthest jumps is with a standard jump and a glide. And so they tried to make a bunch of stuff just out of reach. And because they were wrong on that first assumption, they were wrong on how they designed the level. And so if you do a charge jump glide, it's actually a more efficient movement for distance. And so you can make skips like the one Dact mentioned in Enchanted that you can go for, and this one.
That's not good.
This is the worst thing in marathons. It never goes well.
Yeah, luckily that one doesn't waste too much time because we're right here and the portal's already open. But
it's also like a choke point for new runners as well because it's kind of mandatory. Like doing Icy Peak normally is really slow.
It's like 35 seconds almost.
Yeah, and so
when you're new to it.
When you're new and you're not like used to the jump mechanics and stuff, it's really hard. And even when you are used to the jump mechanics, it's something you're gonna fail sometimes.
Oh wow, that one should have had. I hovered too late. Oh well.
You've got to be careful as well because there's a mechanic in this game where if you jump at the very right on a ledge, I think in the last polygon or 2 on the end of a ledge, you'll get a stutter jump.
I think
where you don't gain any height, or you gain not very much height. And if you get a stutter jump, you can't make this.
Yeah.
So you need to jump as close to the edge as possible, but not too close.
Mm-hmm. Part of this one's also aiming to the right point on the ledge, because the ledge that you're jumping off of is angled upward, and so you kind of need a lot of the height. So if you're aimed too far to the left, you're basically not going to make it either. You can, but it's all.
But if you aim too far right, you get your height cut by the wall.
Yeah, that's
like some of those that you failed looked like good jumps, but just with getting caught on the wall.
Hovers as well. Oh, by the way. But we made it, so we're good.
Yeah.
There was a little bit of jumping mechanics, I guess, going up the stairs where you do. I guess you might have seen it a little bit in Spyro 1, but you do a jump and then you charge and glide to move forward and cut off the height of your jump, and it's just a little bit faster going up the stairs.
Right.
Yeah, the start of a glide is slow, and because those are really short glides, it's better to kind of charge and then cancel the charge with a glide.
So when you watch this run and then watch Stack's 100 egg run later, or Vanny's 117 run, you'll notice that this fight is a lot different in the runs, and it's a very interesting thing about this game that some people don't know is that it has adaptive difficulty.
What
So
was that?
Those rocks
Oh,
Sorry to
God.
interrupt. That was just bullshit.
And so the adaptive difficulty, basically, if you don't have a lot of collectibles, if you die too much, if you fail too many challenges, then you get an easier mode of the game, an easier version. And in this case, since we don't have many collectibles, we're still in easy mode at this point. We get put back into normal mode or intermediate, hard, whatever you want to call it, very soon after this. But for this fight, we need 3 fewer hits. We one fewer per phase, and Spike is less aggressive. He doesn't shoot as much per phase, so it's a really easy. Oh, and you get fodder drops also if you do poorly. So it's a really easy fight in this category.
Yeah.
Pretty difficult
Easy
fight
mode
in the other
Spike
ones.
is easy mode Spike is a lot easier than normal Spike.
So right at the end of that, after I got the egg, you'll notice that I did a charge jump and glide. The game will take away your control while it takes you over to the whirly gate. But there's enough time before that you can jump and glide towards it, which saves time because the glide is faster than the walking speed that it pushes you through.
Yeah, on version 1.0.
Yeah.
Yeah,
go
it's a version difference.
That saves like almost 2 seconds actually, depending on where you are positioned. At least that's what I feel like I've noticed on my splits. Bentley entry is interesting. So when you want to explain that?
You glide out of bounds through a piece of scenery that's not solid, and then when you're trying to hit the Bentley portal, but the Honey Speedway portal is right near it, and so you have to take a specific path that avoids going into Honey Speedway and make it into Bentley.
And it looks a lot easier than it is when you're starting out, but after a while it ends up being pretty easy. I really don't think I've hit the Honey Speedway portal in at least the past 6 months.
Yeah, it's been a while.
I've missed the Bentley portal like once, but that's because one of my charge glides to get slightly lower didn't glide.
You going
the
for
big thing in
record proxy?
Yeah, I guess I can try it.
All right.
The big thing to speed up Bentley's outpost is these seal cycles. The seals kind of only move when you're looking at them, and so you can manipulate the cycles to get them in good spots by using camera movement.
Hey, there we go. Die. Hey, I got on top of the box.
Nice. Yeah, so that's pretty useless. Like it loses 5.5 or 6 seconds, but in marathons, and I mean, do it in your PB, please. No one has yet, and they need to. So it's a good trick.
Yeah.
You also saw that he skipped the gong. You're supposed to use the reflect, the spinning club, and take that from Bartholomew. Get a snowball there. It's a small optimization, maybe saves a couple seconds to hit the gong with your club.
Yeah.
It's not too precise.
You can also spin jump up to that platform instead of going for that sort of diagonal, which is a bit safer when you're starting out. Doing that jump over the sort of gap is kind of scary, but it's actually pretty simple. There's not much risk to it. Now we're into Frozen Altars. There's a Mammoth proxy in here, which is, I want to say it's Dead Body, right?
Dead Body, yeah.
Yeah. It's just the Mammoth hitbox persists forever.
Yeah,
not actually forever, but for a while.
Yeah, it's a very interesting. It's not high enough. Good enough to get one, but oh wow. Okay, I messed that up. Whoops.
Oh, nice starter.
But yeah,
That's
so the
what I was
Mammoth-
talking about earlier with the starter jump.
Yeah, so the Mammoth sort of gets stuck in the ground, and then you just sort of jump into his hitbox and glide again, and you're up. It's pretty easy to get. But
Yeah, it's one of the
ideally-
easier proxies.
yeah, ideally you'd get enough to go completely. Oh wow. That okay. I haven't done that in forever. Yeah, so ideally you'd get enough height to just. Oh, okay. We might die here. That would be really embarrassing. Anyway, hopefully I can finally finish my statement this time. You can get enough height to go out of bounds to the right and just glide all the way over to the finish, which I just turned into right here, so you can approach it from the other side. But if you don't get enough height, you can cheat, sort of get on top of that laser platform or magnifying glass platform, I guess. and then glide over to where I ended up gliding after going around. And so there's like four different ways you can get around pretty easily. But you want to get out of bounds as quickly as possible if you can, because that's the fastest one by far.
Oh, apparently your mic is like ahead of the game, faulty, so you're spoiling things.
Probably a bit, yeah. Oh, what am I doing?
But
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
used to.
Whoops.
Oh, did you? Nice.
I thought I was going to Bentley.
Yeah, it's the same kind of start of the. It's the same out of bounds to get into Bentley and into Fireworks Factory, so it's easy to forget which level you're going into.
And yeah, I think we set up the game audio separately from the voiceover audio, particularly for races. And it's just sort of set on a 3-second delay in general to hopefully counteract the network delay for games, but I guess my delay is not that bad.
So we went for Firefly Proxy at the start there. That is really, really hard and saves a lot of time. So it's a big, like, reset point for going for really good times, but
yeah,
it's not something you need to be going for.
Yeah, I have no confidence in getting it within 3 tries, so I'll do it once.
You can get solid times without it as well. My PB doesn't have it.
Really?
No, no, I didn't.
Yeah, your marathon run does.
Yeah. my PB in eggs does now, but my any percent PB doesn't.
Wonderful. One of the interesting things in this level is that you talk to Greta there at the end, and she goes through a cutscene. If you saw before I got into the cannon, I had to wait for her to show up and talk to her. But at the end of the level there, she, like, her, I guess, trigger is just always there, and so when you do Firefly, instead of having to wait for her to get up there, you can just go to where she's supposed to be, and it'll continue, and that's why it saves so much time.
So I guess I'll start explaining Zombie now. It's something he's going to do at the end of Lost Fleet. So right now his sparks value is gold, and we'll just say that's 3. And if we consider just losing 1 point per sparks value, we have gold is 3, blue is 2, green is 1, no sparks is 0. And when you take damage while you're on 0 sparks, the game sets your damage to, or your sparks value to -1, and then it kills you. And it's actually a process. It doesn't happen simultaneously. And because it's a process, there is a frame where you can pause, and you've received the damage. Your sparks value is -1, but the game has not yet killed you. And the pause menu includes exit level, exit area. And so if you do that, you get put in this limbo state that we call zombie mode. And normally it's actually pretty inhibitive to playing the way you're supposed to play. I mean, I guess swim in air is not playing the way you're supposed to play, but it does bad things usually. But since Lost Fleet is underwater, you're spawned underwater, and the main effect of zombie is that it locks you in either swim state or ground state, whatever you're loaded into. And so coming out of Lost Fleet, you're loaded into swim state, and so you maintain swim state. You'll see just like an instant swim in air, basically.
Yeah,
that's completely a result of zombie.
I got a 1 buffer zombie, so that's not too bad.
Nice.
I used to be really good at no buffers, but figured I'd play it a little safer this time. And into Charmed Ridge, I guess.
Yep. So in terms of clearing zombie, you can do it with certain cutscenes, usually cutscenes that teleport you at some point. Instead of receiving the teleport, you don't receive the teleport but get your zombie cleared. Alternatively, you can just die, and that clears zombie as well. So one of those cutscenes is in Charmed Ridge, and so if you were to get the proxy first try and do the end of level cutscene, then he'd be cleared of zombie and be okay.
Yeah.
But since he death abused, then he's fine anyway.
Yeah. Which actually ends up probably being better for Scorch, because I'm probably going to get hit at least once.
Yep.
But I got the proxy the second time, so we're still going to get decent time save here, I guess.
Nice, yeah.
And you can actually get high enough that you don't have to go over to those platforms on the side. You can just go straight over the middle section. That takes a pretty good proxy and doesn't really save too much time anyway.
So now we move into the awful luck-based endgame portion of the rock.
Yeah.
Yep.
Have a RNG boss fight, and then a kind of hard trick, and then another RNG boss fight.
Yeah, my PB loses a minute and a half just in the last 3 splits.
Mhm. Yeah, there is some logic to Sorceress, but Scorch is pretty low execution and extremely high RNG. Whether it's Scorch's actual attacks, you want the energy attacks, the fireballs that come down, those are the quickest one. Or the rocket you receive from Bentley. You want red rockets, he gives green at least 100% of the time. Like, it's not even
At least
terrible.
100%.
It's unfair.
Yeah. When you're on good pace, it's at least 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So the way to balance this fight, like if they had just had the foresight to realize that one green rocket that slightly homes in is not at all equal to 50 red rockets that don't home in, if they had just doubled the damage on the green rockets.
Make the green rocket do like half his health bar.
Yeah, or even double damage would be fine. But that's not the case, and so every green rocket loses like 10 to 15 seconds until you get like 5 in a row, and at that point the run's dead. But yeah, so you just want fireball attacks. Looks like Faulty's getting a few of them, so that's good.
Yeah. Yep. That was
It's been decent Scorch.
And it's really easy to actually get through the entire fight with just one set of reds. I can normally end with like 15 reds left.
I tend to go past the like if I get a red immediately, I tend to need another one.
Yeah.
But it usually drops.
I tend to be over precautious with them, which means sometimes I miss and lose time, but
yeah,
I figure that's better than trying to wait for a second red sometimes.
Alright, so I spoke a bit earlier about the fact that we can skip into the final boss, and that's what Faulty's going to do next. The Sorceress loading zone, same as every other side area loading zone, it, like bleeds out of the side of the scenery quite a lot. And so if you can get the right kind of proxy from this... Oh, nice. It's straight into the building. If you can get the right kind of proxy from this helmet, you can get up on the mountains near where that loading zone bleeds out and head straight in there without needing the 100 eggs.
Yeah, and so the movement for this that you're looking for is basically getting pushed back, then sliding along the wall, and then at the right point, if you rotate around to sort of be perpendicular to it, it just shoves you up the wall, which is very random, but it works out. I'm just going to play it super safe.
Yeah, there's a few spots on the mountains where you can stand and kind of jump around. But yeah, that's also a skip. The obligatory shoutouts to Tuval.
Yeah, that skips the 100 egg door, and so we go in with 19 eggs instead. So we skip collecting 81 eggs, which is really nice.
Yeah, cuts the run more than, but like down by more than half.
I don't think oh, I did. Okay.
So the phases in Sorceress are Cannon phase, Tank phase, and UFO phase. As intended, it's supposed to be 2 hits on your cannons, 4 hits on your tanks, and 6 hits on your UFOs. Sometimes, though, you get an extra vehicle that's not supposed to drop that just happens to drop. There is logic to it. You can pretty reliably predict drops given certain situations. But you're kind of at the mercy of the spawns because there are different spawn points and they're completely random. So,
didn't get great cannons, but that's entirely my fault. Oh, but I did get a second cannon. Okay.
Second cannon, that's good.
My aim's still terrible, though.
So the best way to possibly finish this fight, if you get very lucky and execute very well, then you can get 2 or 3 hits with your first cannon, and then a total of 6 or 7 hits with your second cannon that's not even supposed to drop, and then a tank instead of a UFO, and that's called God Sorceress, and that saves quite a bit of time. Usually I'd say a perfect, in quotes, perfect fight with bad RNG is like a 135, and a perfect fight with God Sorceress can be as low as like a 1 flat, 105.
I'm really not sure what happened on that cannon or tank pattern. That was not something I've really ever dealt with before. She just kept moving around in a circle. I guess because I was standing in the middle, probably. But now we just gotta wait for a UFO to drop, and they take forever to come in, and then Agent 9 has to be gracious enough to actually shoot them down.
This is another place where new runners, and some not new runners, lose lots of time.
Oh yeah,
like,
for sure.
Even though it's kind of luck based, like if you're good at the fight, you'll get better ones on average than if you're bad at the fight.
Yeah. I lose more than a minute to my gold save. Might be even. Fun times. There we go, time.
Nice.
Wasn't
Good
too
job,
bad.
man.
It was under the 35 estimate that we had originally, but oh well.
I don't have the stream up, so I can't see what the time was. But...
34:23, I think it was when it was actually.
okay.
Given all that stuff on Icy Peak, that's pretty fine, I would say.
Yeah, definitely.
Would have been around 32. But yeah, that's Spyro 3 80%. Just gonna take the portal out of there and that's it. Yeah. Thanks, Dak and Jeremy, for doing commentary. Appreciated it.
No problem.
And,
No,
next we got Blackout Bingo for Spyro 2. That's gonna
dude,
take
this
a
is
little
hype.
bit later to-
Like, I'm super excited for this.
It's gonna be awesome. Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit longer to set up, so just hang with us for a little bit. But hopefully we'll be up pretty soon. Yeah.